Hey, good morning, viewers, and welcome to Alpha Street Interviews. I have with me today Addex Therapeutics CEO Tim Dyer. Addex is a clinical stage company with a focus on treating Parkinson's disease patients with dyskinesia. The company is listed on NASDAQ under ADXN. Let's take a deeper look into the business and the product pipeline. Tim, welcome to the interview. It's good to have you here today.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. Hope you had a great New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Tim, let's start with the company. Tell us a little bit about your clinical programs and how it's different from the existing therapies.
Yeah, so Addex is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company. We were founded around the technology called allosteric modulation. So we're firmly focused on discovering small molecules on G protein coupled receptors. We've been very much targeting a number of receptors called mGluRs, and we've now got our lead molecule is an mGluR5 negative allosteric modulator, so it's the subtype 5, and we're in a pivotal study for dyskinesia associated with Parkinson's disease. Now, there's a huge unmet medical need in Parkinson's, of course, for a cure. But as the disease progresses, patients suffer from a number of other, I would say, facets of the disease. So they get the dyskinesias, which really reduce the quality of the on-time they're getting from the underlying treatment. So Parkinson's patients are basically today the mainstay of therapy for a Parkinson's patient who has, had the disease for about 5 to 10 years is L-DOPA. And as the neurodegeneration continues, they end up with dyskinesia and a number of other issues like psychosis. So there are a number of players who have launched drugs which have been extremely successful at treating hallucinations and psychosis. So like Dyer and pimavanserin, Nuplazid. Now the drug that's been launched in the United States for dyskinesia is GoCovery, and GoCovery is a modified release formulation of amantadine, which is an old generic antiviral drug. Now, amantadine is active on the same biological pathway as the mGluR5, so it's getting a lot of most of its efficacy from targeting the NMDA receptor. However, the big difference with Addex is we're absolutely selective on the mGluR5. So we're on the same biological pathway. However, we have a very short PK profile that mirrors L-DOPA. So most of the dyskinesia that patients are getting, it's at that peak plasma concentration of the L-DOPA dose, which is what they're taking to treat the underlying Parkinson's disease. And so we've got a very differentiated approach, and we believe it brings a number of advantages. Because we're absolutely selective on the target, and we're certainly are looking, based on the data we've seen so far, we're looking much safer than amantadine. However, we bring this additional advantage. But again, we're in the pivotal studies, and the data will tell when it comes out, and that's due out at the end of this year.
Great. Let's just talk a little bit about dyskinesia. What's the market opportunity that you see there, and any timelines that you can disclose at this point of time?
Yeah, so there's about, depending on how you calculate the numbers, about 200,000, just under 200,000 patients in the United States who have dyskinesia. We've actually got orphan drug designation granted in the United States for dipraglurant in dyskinesia. Now, the current pricing of GoCovery in the US is $34,000 a year. And so if you can just work out the math. So there's a more than a 4 billion market opportunity. Now for Addex, we're certainly expecting to get about 25 to 30% of that market, when we launch the drug, based on our estimates today.
Okay. And what can you tell us about your IP portfolio?
Yeah, so, because we're a technology company and we discover our entire portfolio through a high throughput screening, and these drugs were discovered through a medicinal chemistry approach, a high throughput screening. Company's been around for 20 years nearly now. So we have NCE patents, we've got polymorph salt patents, we've got a number of other patents on each one of the programs. Each program has backup compounds behind it. So these are not single molecule programs. So the mGluR5, clearly the backup program is much further behind. But the GABA-B, for example, which is in late preclinical, so we're about to go into the IND enabling studies. We're profiling multiple compounds from multiple different chemical series. So the portfolio we have, we've got dipraglurant, which is being pushed forward for dyskinesia, but we're also currently running a blepharospasm study. So blepharospasm is a type of dystonia of the eyelid muscles, and we're in I would say a first feasibility phase 2 study. So we're looking at multiple doses. We're doing a lot of measurements. It's a data-rich study that'll report out in Q1, and we're doing this study with the immediate release formulation of dipraglurant. So we're doing it with the same formulation, i.e. the immediate release form, as we are using in the dyskinesia studies. However, in the long run, we will develop we are developing a long-acting formulation of dipraglurant for these other indications, where the PK matching with the underlying therapy is not relevant. And then we've got a partnership with Janssen, and Janssen is now responsible for operationally and financing the clinical development, and that's in a phase 2 study for epilepsy. And we've seen some very nice data showing a synergistic effect with Keppra, which is the standard of care in epilepsy. So what we're doing is we're selecting patients that have a suboptimal response to Keppra, and we're looking to see if we can improve the outcomes. We're looking at measuring time to baseline seizure count. So patients will be, they enter the baseline period, we calculate the baseline seizure count, and then they go into the study. They're randomized into the study, and it's time to baseline seizure count is the primary endpoint in that study, and that's looking to read out in Q3 of 2022. So yeah, it's got quite a lot going on. It's an exciting year this year for Addex. We've been spending the last couple of years trying to get these studies started. Unfortunately, the global pandemic gave us an 18-month delay, but now we've managed to get them all started, and fingers crossed, Omicron is not going to throw a spanner in the works.
Hopefully, hopefully, yes. Tim, you just mentioned about your partnership with Janssen Pharmaceuticals. What's the nature of that partnership?
So yeah, this was we entered into this collaboration with Janssen back in 2004. So it's been going for a long time. It was a very early stage program. Addex had screened its library for the mGluR2 receptor, looking for PAMs and NAMs, and we initially licensed both the PAMs and the NAMs to Janssen in a global deal, and then teams at Janssen and teams at Addex worked in parallel and collaborated for 2.5 years, and we designated clinical candidates for further profiling. Janssen gave back the mGluR2 program to us, the mGluR2 NAM program to us. So and just went forward with the mGluR2 PAM. They ran a huge phase 1 program. And then they went into schizophrenia, looking at the effects on negative symptoms, got a signal, then decided to move into anxious depression. Didn't get a meaningful data point out of that study, and then the program itself, was slowed down a little bit while they went back into the preclinical research and came up with this idea around epilepsy. And now we're in the phase 2 for epilepsy. So Addex has 109 million euros of milestones. We've got a double-digit royalty on that, flat double-digit royalty on net sales. So significant economics on this this program, and it's great to see Janssen, driving it forward. And we recently announced that they completed the phase 1 work in Japan.
Cool. Tim, you have a lot of clinical trials happening right now. Obviously, that needs funding. How do you see your balance sheet, and tell us a bit about your funding activities?
Yeah, so we've just raised another 10 million. So we reported having 15.5 million Swiss francs, so about $16.6 million on the balance sheet at the end of September. We've raised another $10 million, and we haven't yet reported out the 31st of December numbers. But we've got the cash now to read out all these studies, and we're certainly hoping that a bit of positive data should have a positive impact on our stock price, because unfortunately the stock price is languishing for some time now. I think I'm not quite sure. Well, I think one of the reasons is that people were very much waiting for us to start the studies. There was also a perceived financing overhang, which I think we've now got rid of that. And so we're very hopeful that if we deliver good data, then the stock price will take care of itself. We stay very firmly focused on building value within the portfolio, driving all the programs forward. One of the programs is funded by Indivior. So the GABA B program is currently funded by Indivior, so that takes some strain off the balance sheet. And we're certainly looking to do other deals as well, in addition to the capital raising.
And as I assume the R&D cost should trend upwards maybe next year and so.
Yeah, the preclinical, we've got 4 programs now set to deliver compounds that will start IND enabling studies. So that so the costs in the preclinical, the discovery will start to ramp up as those molecules get prepared to move into the clinic. Absolutely.
All right, understood. Just one last question, Tim. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh, so my background. So I'm originally from the UK. I'm now living in Switzerland for the last 25 years. Became Swiss. I call Switzerland home these days. I started off doing a biochemistry and pharmacology degree at university, and then I joined Pricewaterhouse, became a UK chartered accountant, spent 10 years with PricewaterhouseCoopers in the UK and in Switzerland, and then I got the opportunity to join a group of what I'd call real scientists, and we founded Addex back in 2002 with about 16 million Swiss francs of venture capital money, with some top tier European venture capitalists behind the company. And in 2013, when the company had some financial issues, I was asked to step in and try and steer ourselves through what was a very challenging time, and then decided to relaunch the company and kept it public on the Swiss Stock Exchange. And then we did the NASDAQ listing in January of 2020, which I thought the timing was going to be excellent, but unfortunately the global pandemic came along a few weeks later, which meant that the timing of the NASDAQ listing was not ideal, but it was what it was. But we're through that now.
Yes, great. That's wonderful, Tim. Thoroughly enjoyed your insights, and all the best wishes for your clinical trials. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.